And
I,
there is,
we're there
sorry.
right now. We're in the metaverse, but they're gonna do it all over again. There's already people talking about Second Life and how people have completely forgotten Second Life, and that we're just gonna do that again. There was this 3D environment called Second Life, and you could make anything you want. And just today, I read an article that said that Seoul, South Korea, is going to be the world's first metaverse city because get ready for this. And I know there's going to be a special tinge of libertarian excitement out there as I tell you about the joys that you'll receive if you put on your VR goggles and go to Seoul. They've recreated City Hall, and now you can pay your driver's license bill and pay your tax forms and file papers virtually in a metaverse. And it'll be just like filing papers in person, but you'll get
Including the waiting lines and stuff.
it's all there. We've recreated the entire experience for you. Yes. And it's like no one wants this. Like we have a little queue on the computer right now on a web page or on it's practically text. Like it could be text if we needed it to be. But yes, the metaverse, it's a beautiful scam. They're going to raise so much beautiful money on this. Remember just a few years ago we said that well, if your company needs a database, but you would rather as an IT person have 10 times the revenue, you could say, hey, we need
Blockchain.
a blockchain database, right? Now you're like, we need a web page that has some extra plugins for VR. Is what we're really saying. Like maybe we could use some VR cool stuff on our web page. We need a metaverse. We need to build you a metaverse, and it's going to cost you 100 times what we were going to charge you before.
We need VRML. That's what we need.
I remember that. That was like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
Click like if you remember VRML. It was the VR version of HTML.
It also sounds like we're going to recreate the Twitter API here. Remember when Twitter was an open platform and anyone could make a third-party client and the whole thing was like all open and free? It sounds like we're imagining that Jack will just do that again, but this time with a decentralized exchange. And he'll never do that trick again where he closes it up at the end and cuts off all the APIs and all the companies. But no, I have some notes here for Martine. It says that companies should go ahead and get ahead of the curve and change their name to "This app is not available in your country." Solid name, just right there. Boom. And I kind of disagree on the Twitter momentum. I'm not so sure about Jack's decision to leave Twitter and stick with the Square, Tidal, Cash App disaster company because that company just seems like Strike. It seems like they're going to buy Strike, they're going to merge with Strike, then they have the Lightning Network, then they don't need any of these payment rails that they've been wasting their time building, and they're just like PayPal. Again, the only question here is, does PayPal buy Strike before Cash App and Twitter? Ooh, there's a little drama for you. But no, on the other side, I see Twitter perfectly copying Clubhouse, crushing Clubhouse, wrecking their dreams in a Microsoftian, Apple-esque way against a third-party app, just wrecking them and moving forward to this idea where Twitter has images, Twitter has video, Twitter has audio chat, Twitter has voice chat. Twitter is this uber social network if they could just get out of their own way. If the subscription service didn't offer me the typo thing, which yes, we all said we wanted the typo thing, but we want it for everybody. I don't want this like only the hoity-toity get to fix their grammar errors. This is not what we were asking for, Jack. We were like, typos put us in a special category. No. Fix the typos for everybody and give us no more fake tweets. You don't even have ads. You have fake tweets. You design them so they look like tweets. You put them in the profile so you trick me into reading them. You're tricking me into reading ads. I'll pay $10 a month to stop. Cultivate the people who like Twitter. Encourage them to use Twitter more. Like, let them get paid for doing the streams. Let them get paid for having clicks and videos and these things. Maybe have some real ads instead of fake tweets. But no, I think Twitter's more interesting. As far as the little thing Dan brought up about the whole right-wing fear, it seems like that Twitter put out some language that basically says no more ex-girlfriend porn, and like we're gonna shut that off. And all the right-wingers are like, they're going after our journalist, and they mean that guy that does all the fake exposés. Like you could look it up, Project Veritas or something. He's like, he does all these fake exposés, and they're gonna stop him. It's like, well, maybe we should get some real journalists do some real exposés. But no, I think it's just about the ex-girlfriend porn. I don't think they're going to crack down on Twitter. Twitter crackdown. That's just Like when you go into something and you have a preconceived conclusion and you want to believe it, you just start collecting evidence that supports your conclusion. So.
Yeah, but Twitter is too big. That's the problem. No matter which side of the political aisle you're on, you don't want one big mouthpiece controlling information like that. It's really, really, really very dangerous. You don't want it. You don't want it. Even if they're fully for your side of the political spectrum, you don't want that, because you end up in an echo chamber, and B, it gets extremely dangerous.
Well, I remember when this service was called Finger, and you would be on Unix and you would type Finger John Carmack, and it would come up with John Carmack's finger file, which was a text file, .finger or something that he could edit with his Nano or Pico or Emacs text editor right there. And John Carmack would say, working on a new game today, and you could finger him. And that was all Unix and all open, and everyone had their own servers. And that's, again, probably where we should have stayed. But
the name is really a bit odd.
Yeah, stop fingering the
yeah, just odd. Sounds
would always be
amazing
and such. But yes, it was called Finger. You can look it up. And again, we decided that the internet companies should be built by advertising, by money, and by whoever could do it the fastest and the cheapest, generally with the least ethics. But that's generally comes into mind when I say fast and cheap. Fast and cheap and dirty. We got this guy Zuckerberg. He's been stalking all the women on campus. He's got a leg up on the competition because he understands everyone wants to do what he's doing in that service, and he builds it up. He gets more and more people until he's like this big black hole sucking in all of our information and using it for about the worst things you could imagine he could use our information for. But again, we didn't want to go with the Unix guys. We didn't want to go with the open source guys because they take longer. We didn't want to give them more money because they're a bunch of communists, right? You don't want to just give them money for making this free and open internet. That's fucking communism. Like, we had to go with the advertising people, and they built us the worst possible tools. We wanted to share our photos, and they said, internet surveillance? We said, share photos with family and friends? He said, internet surveillance. And now they're going to get into VR and the metaverse. Everything's going to be fine, though.